Welcome to Meet at the Table where Warriors are Forged. I'm your host, Don Jurl, and let's get started. Tonight, the subject is be careful of slothfulness. And this is a big one. This is one that a lot of us guys, have struggled with. Maybe is struggling with it right now. It's been something that has been a problem with me in the past. And I want to kind of give a shout out at this time to Undaunted Life, a man's podcast. A couple of weeks ago, I ran across, and I don't know how long ago they did it, but a couple of weeks ago, I ran across a 31-day reset that Kyle Thompson and them people over there had put together. And I know it's been really helpful for me. I would encourage you to check it out. I would encourage you to do it, especially when you get to the end, listen to the things that I'm going to share with you here tonight. I hope that it would encourage you to go check them out, and maybe do it yourself. And I just want to give just one day, all right, just one day of what that 31-day reset is. Um, One of the things on one of the days that I've done, it's read Psalm 16 and Proverbs chapter 3, exercise for at least 30 minutes, pray in a quiet place for at least 10 minutes, and then pray for, somebody, okay? Pray out loud let's see, pray out loud with and over your spouse and children. Read one chapter of a book from their book list, and it's 100 books that every man ought to read. And then listen to an episode of The Daily Blade, uh, thankful for, and so be thankful for at least one thing. You could be thankful for more than one thing, right? And then the daily challenge was do 100 push-ups outside in addition to today's workout. And so, and that's just an example. That's just one day. But you take that one day and you look at the things, you listen to the things that I shared with you, and then you take it as far as with your responsibilities, your job, everything else. And then suddenly you're like, you know what? There's not a lot of free time. And that's really the whole point, because so many times it's our free time that gets us in trouble. Okay. We have free time, and what is the first thing? Especially today, the technology age and everything else. And you see it all the time. And I'm guilty of this. Have a little bit of free time. What's the first thing we do? We pick up the cell phone. And suddenly, man, we're on social media. We're looking at YouTube videos, one thing after another. And yes, and I'm not saying that that's bad. All right, probably all of us has got social media. I got social media accounts. I'm on Facebook. We do messages from the church on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I like to share things as far as in my stories on Instagram, just devotional thoughts and other things to encourage men. And so, I've got Facebook and I've got Instagram, and I mean, I'm on YouTube right now. And so it's not bad stuff. But what happens is we've got free time. And so the first thing we do, we pick up a phone. I'm guilty. All right. We pick up an iPad. Again, guilty. But then we just start scrolling, and it's just endless scrolling. And pretty soon, we might have wasted an hour, or we might have wasted 2 or 3 hours. All right. And you can't get that time back. And then we look and go, man, I could have got this done, or I could have got this done. And honestly, I think if we got to the end of the day and sit down and said, how much time did I spend on social media? Or how much time I spend with my phone? Or how much time did I spend with my iPad? It would be, if we looked at that, then we would probably go, well, no wonder I'm not getting nothing done, because I'm spending so much time doing nothing. And so I want to give you this verse at this time. In Ecclesiastes 10 and 18, it says, by much slothfulness, the building decayeth. Okay. We're being built up a spiritual house, but by much slothfulness, the building decayeth. So it can hurt us spiritually. And through idleness of the hands, the house droppeth through. And so if we're just being slothful, okay, go back to the iPad, go back to the cell phone, because guys, and y'all know it, right? If we're not careful, we won't just be scrolling social media. If we're not careful, we can end up scrolling things that we don't need to be scrolling. And so then what happens? Well, we're defeated. Okay. we're living a defeated life. Um, Not only are we living a defeated life, but then our marriage can suffer, and family can suffer, and occupation, all these things. Okay, occupation can suffer, all these things because we made poor decisions. Again, Ecclesiastes 10 and 18. And let me just, before I give you that, let me just give Samson. Okay, because I done this Sunday night. Samson took care of himself, and there's three levels for all of us men that we ought to be resilient in. And that is our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health. If you look at Samson, he was sharp mentally. All right. He was witty. If you look, and we already know he was strong as an ox. And so mentally and physically, he took care of himself. But spiritually speaking, he was very slothful. Spiritually speaking, he had took a Nazarite vow. A Nazarite vow said no wine and no coming in contact with the dead, and his hair was not to be cut. All three of them things happened to Samson. The wine and the not coming in contact with something that was dead, man, that happened early on. And for 20 years, he never got control of his passions. He just went from one Philistine woman to the other, which eventually led to his hair getting cut. So now, Ecclesiastes 10 and 18 again. By much slothfulness, the building decayeth. And that's what happened to Samson. And through idleness of hands, the house droppeth through. And then Proverbs 19:15 says, slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. And again, that's what happened to Samson. Because of his slothfulness. And I said this Sunday night, because I preached a message on that, and I said it Sunday night. Samson was blind long before they put his eyes out. And so, because of slothfulness, because that, he was not diligent in his spiritual walk, because he was very lax, he ended up blinded in a grain, or in a prison, grinding grain, just going in circles. And how many of us are just going in circles, not really accomplishing anything for the Lord, just going in circles? The power of God's not been on our lives in a good while. And we're just going in circles, not getting anywhere. We're not seeing anything, spiritually blind. And why? Because we're not diligent in our spiritual walk. We become very slothful. And so how do we combat it? Okay, how do we combat it? That's the thing that we'll look at right now. Proverbs 6 and 6 says this: Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. And so the scripture tells us, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways. Just look at what the ant does. The ant's always working. It's always busy. And so nobody's going to fix this for us. And really nobody's going to help. And yes, the Lord will help us with this. But he's really the only one. But for him to help us with this, we're going to have to seek him. For him to help us with this, we got to want to be helped. And so basically what we got to do is we've got to look and say, you know what? I'm not going to allow my free time to lead me into destructive habits. One of the things, and it was a good one, on that 31-day reset, was no social media all day. Honestly, probably need a lot of that every day, or maybe put just a time and go, you know what, I'm going to 30 minutes. That's it, 30 minutes, or maybe an hour. But it's going to be on something like, a podcast where I'm going to be lifted up, a podcast where I'm going to learn something, a podcast that is iron sharpeneth iron, but not just endless scrolling, because then we're just wasting time. And so we purpose that I'm not going to allow my free time to lead me into destructive habits. Instead, I'm going to redeem the time. And redeeming the time, I'm going to do as Paul said to the church at Colossae, when he wrote these words in Colossians 3:1, if ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affections on things above, not on things of the earth. And that would be redeeming the time. And so I'm just going to leave you with that here this evening. Thank you for tuning in to Meet at the Table where Warriors are Forged. If you like the content, please click the like button, subscribe, turn the notification bell on. And until hopefully I'm going to do another one tomorrow. So until tomorrow, this is your host, Don Jurl, signing off.